day, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video will support our last understanding that Jacob's trouble is within the days, with an S, of the Lord, which can only mean neither event happens anywhere near America. To do this, we must revisit the book of Joel, chapter 2. I also want to throw in a couple of theories that came together as I was writing this to you. Shall we begin? Quote, "Sound the trumpet in Zion, make a proclamation in my holy mountain, and let all the inhabitants of the land be confounded. For the day of the Lord is near, for a day of darkness and gloominess is near." Stop. Notice, we are already in the wilderness at this time. To be confounded means bewildered, confused, perplexed. And that can only mean it doesn't matter if the confounded part was talking about the Israelis or us. Trouble is a coming to both. But to say, quote, "For the day of the Lord is near, for a day of darkness and gloominess is near," can only mean Yah is about to describe what the day of the Lord will look like. No, it's not saying the day of the Lord is at hand. It is just describing what that dreadful day will look like. Saying that, let's check out the description and see if we have seen and heard it before. Again, what is coming next is a description of the first day of the days, with an S, of the Lord. Quote, "For the day of the Lord is near, for a day of darkness and gloominess is near, a day of cloud and mist. A numerous and strong people shall be spread upon the mountains as the morning. There has not been from the beginning one like it, and after it there shall not be again, even to the years of many generations." Stop. I don't know about you cats, but to me, this sounds exactly like the last description of the day of the Lord we went over in the last video, all the way down to saying there will not be another army like it ever. But let's continue for more clues, shall we? Wait. Who do you think the numerous and strong people are? In my humble opinion, and only in my humble opinion, I think it's the, oh man, there goes my mind again. Wait, I know who I can ask. Psst, psst, little Miss Ivy, I'm stuck again. Huh? That's right. I think it's the monsters and giants with their fire-breathing war dragons. But I might be wrong. Let's continue. Quote, "A numerous and strong people shall be spread upon the mountains as the morning. There has not been from the beginning one like it, and after it there shall not be again, even to the years of many generations. Before them is a consuming fire, and behind them is a flame kindled. The land before them is as a paradise of delight, and behind them a desolate plain, and there shall none of them escape." Stop. So as you can see thus far, there will come a day when all of a sudden mankind's worst nightmare will show their face in the blaze. Again, this is the day of the Lord. The time they spend upon the earth 24 hours past this point, you know, being wielded like a sword and under the command of my God to do exactly what we just read. You heard it. Tear this mother sucker up, and none, what? Yep, none shall escape them. Now wait a minute. That doesn't mean they will kill everyone in their path. We know this is true from the scriptures that tell us they will take what is left of the Israelis back towards the netherworld. Besides, we know they will have territorial countries to fight in the Ezekiel 39 Armageddon war later. But this is shock and awe day of the Lord action to the utmost. Can you just imagine? All of a sudden, the world isn't watching the Lord of the Rings on their tellies. They are watching it live and direct coming for them. But let's continue to see if there are any other similarities between what we have discovered in the last video's Day of the Lord and this video's Day of the Lord, shall we? Quote, their appearance, what the monsters and giants look like coming upon the earth. Their appearance is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they pursue. As the sound of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Whoa! Horses that can leap mountains. And as the sound of a flame of fire devouring stubble. And as a numerous and strong people setting themselves in array for battle. Stop. Let's be real, people. Is there really any doubt that this view coming upon the earth will be the most frightful thing this world has ever seen? Come on now. But let's continue. Quote, before them shall the people be crushed. Every face shall be as the blackness of a cauldron. As warriors shall they run, and as men of war shall they mount on the walls. They're going to have siege engines, and each shall move in his right path, and they shall not turn aside from their tracks. Whoa! All of these different netherworld kingdoms are militarized. Quote, and not one shall stand aloft from his brother. They shall go on way down with their arms, and they fall upon their weapons, yet shall they in no wise be destroyed. Let me say that again. And not one shall stand aloft from his brother. They shall go on way down with their arms, and they fall upon their weapons, yet shall they in no wise be destroyed. Stop. Remember, at this time, we have fallen high holy ones and Nephilim who have materialized and are walking amongst mankind. Yah will hit them fast, and Yah will hit them hard. Think about it like a scary cat for just a minute. The first boo is always the scariest. Every other boo after that is kind of expected. Well, let's continue to see what else they will do. Quote, they shall seize upon the city and run upon the walls and go up upon the houses and enter in through the window as thieves. Before them the earth shall be confounded, and the sky shall be shaken. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their light. Stop. This is the third time we see the same atmospheric conditions when talking about the day of the Lord. And again, surely this will be the worst day of them all. I can just imagine Mr. Charlie World's eyes the size of coconuts at this point. His mind fleeting back and forth on the words and phrases he has heard the colored say on YouTubes that he liked to heckle in the comment section. But I must admit though, this is not talking about kick-ass Jesus Americans. Why? Because at this point, American is a hissing heap. To the point, check this out now, of all that is in America, all the buildings and great monuments and structures, the entire United States of America will be destroyed to the point not one nail, paintbrush, ladder, 2x4, etc. will ever be used from it again. Well, wait a minute. Destruction and the fact monsters and demons will be stuck living here might have something to do why no one's coming back here too. But let's continue, please. Now Yah lets us know who is ultimately commanding this army of the ages. And yet another indicator, what we are reading is the first day of Yah's day of the Lord. Quote, "And the Lord shall utter his voice before his host, for his camp is very great, for his execution of his word is mighty. For the day of the Lord is great, very glorious, and who shall be able to resist it?" Stop. I told you. And if this is true, and we see that it is, Jacob's trouble, you know, the granddaddy of all trouble for the Israelites, is within the next coming days, with an S, of the Lord's vengeance upon the world. Not driving around in a stankin' Lincoln and smoking big fat cigars like a boss would in Babylon. Hell, think about it like this for a minute, people. A huge percentage of Lucifer's first line of offense and defense are Israelites. I'm talking about the pigs. Wait a minute. They might be straight terrorists too. You know, law enforcement do run psych tests to eliminate candidates on the front end and wash out those with a sliver of empathy in their academy on the back end, you know. So, either way though, there is nothing the white man can do, nothing that the white man can do now to match this type of horror without sanctioning a white cannibalistic purge against the coloreds for a month. Notice I stopped at a month. We are talking about the white man, you know. But again, I'm only trying to make a case for the day of the Lord, Jacob's trouble in the midst of the day of the Lord, and the days of the Lord's activities will be destroying all of the evildoers. Yep! Angelic, demigods, and Assyrian crew, while leaving a small amount of monsters, etc., to stay around. I guess they will be a keep your mind right reminder, just like the hell on top of the earth is supposed to be. But let's continue, please. Visual perceptual context. Yah's about to tell us what to do when the day of the Lord happens. Fast forward in time, and we are in the wilderness round about Mount Zion and in Accord. You know, Accord. By the very name itself, the land that was always waste. And all of a sudden, you are seeing demon-possessed white people and creatures that you only saw on the movie screen or the telly, doing things you only saw creatures and demon-possessed white people do on the movie screen and the tellies in and around Jerusalem. As the scriptures attest, the creatures will be killing, sacking, raising, eating, carrying away captives back towards whence they came, and showing the world that yes, giants can mate with human chicks. Guess what? All of a sudden, they looked in your direction and smelled our scent and started doing what you only see on the movie screen and the telly to your people. You know, Jacob's trouble. Allow me to ask you a silly question, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think the appropriate plan of action should be? What? Well, let's see if you're right. Quote, "Now, therefore, saith the Lord your God, turn to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with lamentations, and rend your hearts, and not your garments, and turn to the Lord your God. For he is merciful, and compassionate, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy, and repents of evils." Stop. You darn right this is what you gonna do. But notice, Yah said rend your heart and not your clothes. This can only mean the desires of the heart outweighs the sins you actually commit. This also tells us your willingness to let bygones be bygones to wickedness will be judged. Your acceptance and apparent rug sweeping will be judged. And surely we know your defense of wickedness, no matter how politically correct or pseudo-black Hebrew Israelite etiquette it encompasses, will be judged. But enough about that. For now, Mr. Eugene. For now. So as you can see, called and chosen, while the wicked that are currently amongst us are being killed and eaten by carnivorous creatures, we are told what to do so your blood don't splatter on your neighbor. But let's continue. Wait, this is a good place as any to say this. What I'm starting to understand is wisdom and understanding in the scriptures are written and designed to be understood at a certain point in your walk with the Most High. You can read the same passages over and over again, but it is not until you have reached a certain checkpoint in Yah's understanding and wisdom walk, no matter how fast or slow your personal trek is. But you must reach a certain checkpoint before the next level of understanding, now get this, within the exact same verses you just read. But after you have reached a certain checkpoint, another understanding opens up in that passage. But as far as this next verse, I have no idea what the meaning is. If you have been given the understanding, please put it in the comment section. Here we go. Quote, "Now therefore saith the Lord your God, turn to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with lamentations, and rend your hearts and not your garments, and turn to the Lord your God. For he is merciful and compassionate, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy, and repents of evils. Who knows if he will return and repent and leave a blessing behind him, even a meat offering and a drink offering to the Lord your God." Stop. I can't tell who's who in this passage. Obviously, it's not meant for me to know at this time. So let's continue, please. But if you know, let me know. We are still getting instructions on how not to be pickled people feet to the giants. Basically, we're doing a Moses move in reverse. But don't worry, little squirts like Little Miss Ivy will have a hedge of protection around them. Guess what? She already said she will hold my hand during this time. I beat you guys to the punch. Suckers. Let's continue. Quote, "Sound the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, proclaim a solemn service, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the infants at the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber, and the bride out of her closet. Between the porch and the altar, let the priests that minister to the Lord weep and say, Spare thy people, O Lord, and give not thy heritage to reproach that the heathen should rule over them, lest they should say among the heathen, Where is their God? But the Lord was jealous of his land and spared his people." Stop. Remember the video where we discovered Yah was going to let the giants glean us of the wicked like an olive grove? When the time was right, Yah would tell them to stop by telling them to put their hands back into their baskets? Ta-da! The called and chosen's prayers work, and Yah stops Jacob's troubles carnage and remembers his promise to our granddaddy Abraham. Please remember and understand, these prophecies and our scriptures are not supposed to be easily read and understood. You must get a little understanding of a situation from here and a little information of the same situation from there, and more information to follow in the same passages you just read once you reach a certain checkpoint of understanding. Take this small example. I now know this event will take place early in the days of the Lord. How? Because other scriptures attest that while the giants and monsters are raising cities and countries, the called and chosen are right with them, sacking and stacking the loot. Think about it. With all the warfare these particular sack and stackers will see, nothing will surprise them and make a man look like he was having a baby anymore. They will have seen the worst of the worst already. No! These are those whose names are written in the book of life at the foundation of the world, and who didn't become human spam spread to the giants that will be, you guys know, getting that money. But let's continue, please. Now Yah talks to those of us that are left, getting that money. Quote, "And the Lord answered and said to his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied with them. And I will no longer make you a reproach among the heathen." Stop. Now do you see why the Gentile seed is so freaking dangerous, and why it is important not to talk to them? In fact, if you look at Genesis 10 in the Septuagint, there is something interesting going on with the description of Japheth and the Gentiles. Now, I'm not trying to reinvent the scriptures, but my soul is telling me there is something more to the story than meets our marvelous work, even our marvelous work. And a wonder mine is allowing us to proceed. I know I'm going off the reservation yet again. Sorry. But what I meant was, if looked upon with an analytical eye, one could deduce, mind you, the scriptures along with supporting word-of-mouth accounts of their origins. One could deduce the scriptures are not saying the seed of Japheth or the Gentiles at all. And seeing this passage is the only link that bridges the two understandings together, it would only be prudent, I say, to at least take a peek at it from a different perception. A perception which would make everything in the world of science and the Bible make perfect sense, mind you. It really could go either way. Check this out. Genesis 10, 3 through 5 in the Septuagint. Quote, "And the sons of Gamer, Ashkenaz, and Rithmoth, and Thamama, and the sons of Javan, Elise, and Tharlis, and Sitians, and Rodan." Listen up. "From these," talking about the names I just tried to name. "From these were the islands of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, in their tribes and in their nations." Stop. I don't know about you, but I hear two totally different seed of people. The "from them," sons of Japheth, and the Gentiles. Could I be hearing the sons of Japheth took over? Hear me out now. Hear me out. Could I be hearing the sons of Japheth took over or a part of the islands the Gentiles were already living in. I could be so very wrong on this, but let's read it again, shall we? Quote, from these Japheth's seed were the isles, let me say it again. From these, talking about Japheth's seed, were the islands of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, in their tribes and in their nations. I'm going to read that again. Quote, from these, talking about Japheth's seed, from these were the islands of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to their tongue, in their tribe and in their nations. Example, I have read many of Scripture in my pitiful life, and one thing that history dictates when doing so, when a sentence is not straightforward in the simplest terms, there is usually something else to the sentence. Now, I'm not my God, and y'all better be glad I'm not too. But I know he has the ability to convey a perception about anything with the greatest of ease. Ladies and gentlemen, this sentence is not meant to be understood with the greatest of ease, in which history dictates there could be something more behind what is said. But wait! This just hit me. So I'm talking off the head, but I'm in a groove and I'm going with it. Am I the only person to perceive Yah told us a totally different geographical location of Japheth than what the white man history told us? What I mean is, it is obvious through what we just read in the scriptures. Whoever the Gentiles are, live in the islands and not the mainland. But the white man history tells us the white man started in Europe. Okay. Here's what I see, ladies and gentlemen. The true Gentiles, or in this case, children/creation of the fallen ones, etc., whoever they are, and then I got my own theories, were living on the islands that were disconnected from Pangaea. Remember, we are talking before the time of Peleg and the earth split. Japheth's seed was not only given the mainland territory, but was also given some of the adjacent islands where the Gentiles lived also. To strengthen my theory, I just saw a documentary of the Basque of France/Italy and the Iberian people of Northern Africa. In it, just like the Nazis promoted, they claim to be the descendants of people from a nearby sunken island right off their coast. Now, we know Yah caused a flood, right? And not so new archaeology have discovered entire cities of awesome proportion under the Sea of Japan, China, the northern sea coast, etc. Right? This would explain why there are mummies with elongated heads with blonde and red hair in Egypt that predates the black pharaohs. This would explain why the Basque people's language cannot be rooted back to any known language, and why they have the highest percentage of, and heck, they are even attributed to infusing the Rh negative blood type into modern humans, a fact that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt they could not have survived 3 generations living among the remaining Rh positive earth without coming here from an outside source in mass numbers to support the hemolytic disease of the newborn an Rh negative and an Rh positive couple would have without a RhoGAM vaccination. What I mean is, now I know that was a lot, but what I mean is, If an Rh negative mother, which is 15% of the world's population, gets pregnant from an Rh positive male, who are 80% of the world's population, they could have one child with no problem. But if she gets pregnant again, her body will automatically try and kill the child because it thinks the child is a foreign object and release antibodies to kill it. Thus, only one generation per couple, and no people can survive with that growth rate, which can only mean these people had to come from a place where their entire population was Rh negative, which can only mean they are not from our family tree and migrated to the mainland. This also would shed light to why their skull structure is like no other person on the planet. How the pure white Iberian people, who claim the same thing, have always been in northern Africa, etc., etc., etc. Now wait a minute, Tino. Before you tell mom on me again, please understand, please remember, the leading genetic scientists in the world have already written and concluded Japheth, in this case, the original European, had dark skin. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. Not in the house though. Super top secret command center or not. Mom don't play that, homie. But like I said before, it's just a theory. Let me read it again before we go back to the original video subject. It's very interesting. Quote, from these, again, it's talking about the sons of Japheth. From these were the islands of the Gentiles divided in their land, each according to his tongue, in their tribes and in their nation. Example. Sure sounds like there is something else being said to me. But let's continue, please. Now Yah tells us how he will deal with Gog and his demon hordes. Quote, and I will chase away from you the northern adversary, and will drive him away into a dry land, and I will sink his face in the former sea, and his back parts in the latter sea, and his ill savor shall come up, and his stink come up, because he has wrought great things. Stop! If you can recall the Battle of Megiddo, Gog is supposed to be defeated by infighting, hail, fire, brimstone, etc., in retreat to the sea. This is why his face will be towards one sea, and his butt towards whence he came. In essence, he is running away, but he didn't get far. Let's continue, please. Oh yeah, please remember, there are at least 10 different monster armies upon the earth at this time. Some from the north, some from Jordan, etc. Let's continue as Yah reassures the called and chosen who have not been eaten alive. Quote, be of good courage, O land, rejoice and be glad, for the Lord has done great things. Be of good courage, ye beasts of the plain, for the plains of the wilderness have budded, for the trees have borne their fruit, the fig tree and the vine have yielded their strength. Rejoice then and be glad, ye children of Zion, in the Lord your God, for he has given you food fully, and he will rain on you the early and the latter rain as before. And the floors shall be filled with corn, and the presses shall overflow with wine and oil. And I will recompense you for the years which the locust, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, and the cankerworm have eaten, even my great army, which I sent against you. Stop. Bingo, bingo. Why two bingos, you ask? Well, The first one is for the so-called African Americans. As you can plainly and clearly see, the most horrendous day we as a race of people will ever endure, the scriptures call it Jacob's trouble, will not be anywhere near America, nor will it be at the hands of the much deserved to be considered white man. No, our whipping will be at the hands of creatures that have an appetite for human flesh. The second bingo is really a question for Mr. Charlie World. Mr. Charlie World, living in a linear timeline and being constrained by what humans call physics, until the evildoers change things, that is. For every action, there is an equal negative reaction, right? I want you to look at what is said with whatever wisdom and understanding you can muster. Don't worry, I don't expect much, but whatever you can muster. It says, quote, "And I will recompense you for the years which the locust and the caterpillar and the palmer worm and the cankerworm have eaten, even my great army, which I sent against you," which can only mean you, Mr. Charlie, are either the caterpillar, which eats up and destroys everything, the palmer worm, which eats up and destroys everything, or the cankerworm, which eats up and destroys. And because linear physics must come into play, if my ancestors from all over the world will be paid back for what was eaten and destroyed by you, what do you think is going to happen to you? But wait! I just perceived this as I'm writing. Does this mean? Could this mean? There are 4 different strains of Gentiles or white man upon the earth, each doing their damage to the apple of his eye in their prospective nations, with the southern United States white man being the worst of the heathen, of course. I know everyone assumes this is talking about specific Gentile nations that defeated our ancestors and the modern white man. But that understanding really doesn't hold much water. Again, I'm talking off the head, but let me explain. See, after each destruction of our ancestors by who you assume the symbolism applies to, there was a time of good and plenty that followed because our ancestors repented. If that is true, and I know that it is, why would Yah recompense something he has already recompensed to our ancestors again? It doesn't make sense. I believe there are at least 4 bloodlines of fallen high holy ones. And as scriptures attest, with the understanding of the serpent's children, there are at least 5 generations of Nephilim walking upon the earth today. And if each nation/border had its own angelic administrations like the scriptures attest, that's a whole lot of mingling with the seed of man going on. And if this is true, would this be? Could this be the reason why we still have certain recessive characteristics surviving somehow and some way in a sea of dominant genes? Would this be? Could this be the reason why only the white race genealogy and genetics are so marred? Even the leading scientists in their fields are dumbfounded of what the white man's existence is. Would this be? Could this be the reason the most important element in the entire human body, the blood, for some strange reason, for some scientific bewildering reason, the Indo-European have blood factors that would be impossible for them to have originated from any normal human. I've proven these things already. I didn't read very well whatsoever, and I'm sorry about that. Man, I'm embarrassed about that, really. But the video is a little bit too popular. It's well in the hundreds of thousands, some of them. So, well, I don't know about that one. Well, you know what I'm saying. But the genetics, ABO, history timeline, and the scriptures used are rock solid. Basically, the seed of the Nakash had seeds of their own. But enough about my zany theories. Let's continue, shall we? Yah continues to tell those who are left the blessings for them having a repentant heart towards him in spiritual Egypt, and while seeing your bosses being impaled like shish kebabs. Quote, and ye shall eat abundantly and be satisfied, and shall praise the name of the Lord your God for the things which he has wrought wonderfully with you. And my people shall not be ashamed forever. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and that there is none else beside me. And my people shall no more be ashamed forever. Listen up. And it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Stop! Bingo! Bingo! Why two bingos again, you ask? Well, the first was because I have heard with my own two ears and saw with my own two eyes. Black Hebrew Israelites, not only professing we will receive this gift in America, they have the audacity and unmitigated gall to think they have received it already. Before I tell you the reason for the second bingo, let me tell a certain butthole something. One of the reasons I call you cats black Hebrew Israelites is because that is what the alphabet boys have you listed on their hate group list. Another reason is because they have you listed correctly. A freaking cult. That's why. You guys are a freaking cult. I will give you more reasons as applicable. Now the second bingo is for Mr. Whoop-Ass Jesus Charlie. If you notice, the prophecy your conscience and faction uses as proof of and willingly accepting your younglings being possessed by Nephilims isn't what you thought it meant at all. First, it's not talking about you. And second, it will happen after you are dead. That can only mean you are admitting to being possessed by demons for Lucifer's army. But I know. What's being possessed by Lucifer's demon have to do with black and white relations, right? Let's continue, please. Quote, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. And on my servants and on my handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. Stop. Here is where some people get caught up. No, there isn't two singular day of the Lord. Yah is simply sealing up the prophecy by telling you the beginning again at the end. In a Gnostic way, making it a complete circle. Check it out. Quote, and I will show wonders in heaven and upon the earth, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes. Stop. Stop. How do I know my understanding on this is true? Because of what comes next. Quote, and it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall the saved one be as the Lord has said. What? For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall the saved one be as the Lord has said. And they that have glad tidings preach to them whom the Lord has called. Example. This is the called strangers and nations coming for refuge among us in Zion. Says something else too. We'll get to that later. Surely you can't be saved. Surely you can't be saved after you are already in the belly of a beast. This is a dispensation before the day of the Lord monster army comes and takes away everyone that wouldn't call upon the name of Yah in the first place. Whew. Man, thank you for looking at this video. And I'm saying man because you already know I'm way past my reading level. Yah's will, I got something to show you in another scripture and a theory about why we are seeing all of this dysfunction in the beginning thrones of the Pence administration. Believe me, it's gonna be huge. And some other stuff too. Thank you.